People deluded. Arsenal 2, Southampton 0. Tactical review. Now, I've obviously got through the game, got to watch it for a second time. And yeah, man, I believe this is probably one of the most simplest tactical reviews I'll do. We'll get onto everything and there's still a lot to be said. But watching the game again, don't get me wrong, Arsenal fans. For me anyways, we were very good. The only criticisms I could probably have is Lichtsteiner possibly over-covering at times. That's me just being sour to a degree. Probably that we didn't score a couple more because we had some good opportunities, but Southampton were actually woeful in my opinion. It looked like they were resigned to defeat, quite toothless, second best, especially the midfield three. I'd be quite upset if I was a Southampton fan or their manager based on how they played. If I was the manager as well, I know Target had a couple opportunities, but considering the wing-back stuff and considering how he set up the team in hindsight with Romeo as well in the side, could he have possibly played Ryan Bertrand in the wing-back role? Looking at it, I don't feel they troubled us enough on that left-hand side, especially when Mkhitaryan and Lichtsteiner were over-covering. But the one thing I will say about our team is just on the basis of my agenda of that you lot know I'm big on midfield runners. I feel our midfield weren't being picked up by Southampton players. But there was one incident. Don't get me wrong, people. I've said it already. I'm not going to go over the same things. We had a good game. You want my thoughts immediately after the game, go and check out my other reviews. But one thing that I will pick out on is this. Obviously, it's not drawn to scale, and I'm a terrible drawer, people. But 5 minutes and 22 seconds in is what I counted on the clock. There was a throw-in. Now, this is Redmond. I should have got the blue pen. What? Obviously, you've got Redmond, and then there's just some generic Southampton players as the throw-ins going on, people. Torreira's there. Kolasinac Kola's there, Socrates, Mustafi, and he's in line with them. He's a bit more in line. Like I said, it's not to scale people, but you've got Lichtsteiner here. Why I've picked Lichtsteiner, he's actually not really relevant. As the game's gone on, obviously they've stepped together and there's a solid back three at the time. Why I've marked him is because I felt we were over-covering in the game. I might go on it later, but I felt one thing with Lichtsteiner when he plays, and I have noticed, he's obviously losing his legs. He's not able to get up and down, so he's got to be smarter. So he stays quite tight to his centre-half, in this case Mustafi, which is great, people. But then there's gaps of spaces, and that, just like an idiot, this thing isn't working. But there's gaps of spaces here, people. You think about it. Armstrong is here. He didn't take advantage of it. And Mkhitaryan was on fire, but Mkhitaryan was coming inside a lot and trying to keep shape. There was a lot of space down the left-hand side for both Target and, in this example, Armstrong. And another game, another team might exploit that, but that's actually not the reason I'm focusing on. Midfield runners, you see that in the 6th minute or so, well, 5 minutes and 22 seconds in, when Redmond had his second of chances where it was a good save from Leno, easily avoidable things. Now, we're at the halfway line, we play a high line, we're a possession-based side, people. It's to be expected. But Torreira, and not just Torreira wasn't aware of him, and he was aware after this, but Torreira wasn't aware, and he just continues his run, and neither defender's able to pick him up. He just simply starts his run from deep. He's played the ball in, and then he's presented in a foot race against Socrates and Mustafi, and Socrates is quite quick, but Redmond's a very pacey winger. He didn't take his chance. Leno obviously saved it, and then we went and hit them on the break eventually. It's actually great play from Lacazette, I felt, for the first goal as well, because we made the save now. We were about to counter-attack, and I think the ball eventually falls back to not Jack Stevens, I can't remember his name, Stevens. He dilly-dallies on the ball. He gets caught of sorts trying to play a ball pass. Lacazette picks up on it. He plays it out to the left-hand side. Eventually we get into their box. You saw we had penalty shouts. Eventually it falls to Mkhitaryan. He hits it. Lacazette does the rest. It's 1-0 at that moment in time, and it's happy days of sorts, people. Where's my other notes now? I had some other points I wanted to make, and they've just mentally left my head, people. Apologies. Where are they, man? This is just his journal. That's not it. That's my final notes. Yeah, people. Sorry. Apologies for that. The second goal as well. Again, you saw it yourself. It's forced mistakes, and to be honest, better example of the second goal would actually be this. To be honest with you, people. Now my handwriting's poor. Don't draw me out and get onto me. I don't know if you can see it. There was a bit of a flash there, but as you can see, you've got Gunn. Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, we'll hold it like this. As you can see, people, you've got Gunn. yeah? You can see you've got gun. You've got gun. You've got their back three. Well, five. They're the X's. This is the thing that kind of went against Southampton. They had no outball. Whenever Gunn had the ball, whoever in that back three, there's no outball to go to. It's good on us because Lacazette, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, Xhaka and Torreira in particular, I felt pressed us very well. Iwobi as well pressed, but what I liked about Iwobi, and I'll show it in a bit, or if I can remember, is that he stayed on the left-hand side and we were just getting a lot of joy. But really, there was no outball. And a big reason as to why, you obviously saw in the 15th, 16th minute, whenever we scored our second, the ball came to Stevens. He's got no outball. He's actually caught trying to play a long pass. What he's actually trying to do is play it to Valerie, people, because Valerie made a run from the right-back position here. And it gets cut out by Lacazette. But a big reason as to why I was doing that is because I don't feel that Southampton had any real outball. Sorry, people for shaking the screen. Any real attacking intent. And a big reason as to why that fundamentally could be is I actually felt sorry for Redmond. Not that he played amazing, but I felt sorry for Redmond because you could see it, people. Obviously, I've ran out of thingies, so the red one's still on their team. But you saw a back five. Let's move the midfield. You saw a back five. Now, this is what I mean about playing, about why possibly he could have played Bertrand in hindsight, people. Because we'll bring in one midfielder. You got Romeo on the field. Obviously, there was two other midfielders, yeah? You've got Romeo. And then on the opposition's flanks, let me put it down for a sec to make it easier for you people. Not to scale, but to make it make sense. Now, the Blues obviously Southampton. You've got a back five. This is why I felt that, this is where I think Southampton let themselves down and made it a bit easier for Arsenal, is that I could see in the game, you obviously had our right back in Lichtsteiner, two centre-halves in Mustafi and Socrates initially, before obviously Mustafi went to right back for Koscielny. This is typically what you see. But in the game, in real time, as the game goes on and we're shuffling and stuff like that, Lichtsteiner, to me, is too close to our centre-halves. And this is something I've seen of him all season, to be fair. Maybe it's, like I said, because of how he's getting on. But target, people, like, first of all, let's remove that. Target had all this space. He's playing as a wing-back first and foremost. You've got Romeo as well. So Romeo, in theory, people, if Romeo's back there, or his job is a defensive sort of midfielder, you've got three defenders. Romeo's there. So even if you're in Valerie and Target, if they go, technically you've got four people back there. Obviously, everybody needs to track back. Target had a couple opportunities towards the end of the game. We had a good effort, Leonard, to save, and he had one in the first half, which drew a good save. But I don't feel, obviously, Target, I think he's alright, but he's not really what you call an attacking sort of fullback. And I felt a lot of the time that space wasn't being utilised because, think about it, Lichtsteiner is not the fastest anyways because he's declining and there's a lot of space. Mkhitaryan did his thing in an attacking sense, and I thought he did very well covering as well. But naturally, he wants to be inside. So we're leaving a lot of space. And maybe Ryan Bertrand, he still has to defend. And maybe that's why he's out of the side. I don't follow Southampton. I don't know. But like I said, there's a lot of space down there. Now, excluding this, obviously the defence was at 6s and 7s all game. But we'll go on to the midfield in a sec. But one couple more points on their defence. It didn't at times, and from what I hear from Southampton fans, they played this system for a couple of occasions. It looked like they were resigned to defeat, in my opinion. Maybe that's a reason, but it just looked like they weren't sure exactly what they're doing. Now, obviously, at times, if you play a back three, you have to sit as a 5. But at times, consistently, what I was seeing... Oh, and I forgot to say as well, like, Vestergaard was here, people, right? So if you had Vestergaard, going back to the previous example, but if you've got Vestergaard, who's a centre-half, you've got Romeo, who's naturally a centre-half, them man, they're always going to stay. So you could have had 3 defenders. You could have made your fullbacks go forward a bit more, I mean. But back to this, people. They didn't look like they knew what they was doing. Because at times, they were sitting way too much like this. And it's allowing all of our players to come up the field further. At times, quite rightly so, they looked like a back 5. I mean, a back 3 with the 2 fullbacks. At times, I was seeing this. And one's going, or I was seeing this. At times, but actually what I was thinking was the most nervy is that the member of the back 3, in Vestergaard, he started coming over like this, trying to focus on on pushing out of play. And you had Target over there, and you had, what's-his-face, Valerie doing this. Obviously, if you're Arsenal, we're able to exploit this because what I saw from Ramsey all game, He didn't have the best of games in my opinion, but he's running forward and he's helping to press. Lacazette realised this as well. Iwobi, people, when we're all pressing, what I liked with Iwobi, naturally as the game's going on, people, and we're shuffling across as a football side, as you do in a game, Iwobi, when he wasn't going inside, do you know how much space he had, people? Do you know how much space Iwobi actually had? Valerie was alright in that game, but he wasn't being backed up at all. He had all that space. And Kola, from start to finish, how many times did Kola get the ball from his own half and do them thunderous runs, man? That guy has moments of Ronaldinho about him. I think we should have had a penalty in the 18th minute as well, people. I can't not mention that. Really and truly, like Southampton really kind of made it easier for ourselves, because I feel we had a good game. I feel we were superb. We can only deal with what we needed to deal with. We probably should have scored more goals, and the Lichtstein and Mkhitaryan was the most concerning. But other than that, man to a man, we were decent. Lacazette, based on what I saw, played better than what I thought, to be fair with you. Kohler as well. I know he played well, but I should have boosted up his ratings in my player ratings. I feel Xhaka was alright as well. See, I almost forgot to talk about the midfield. Now, I don't have enough people, so one of these midfielders I'll let you know to make it a bit easier. Let's make it that one, yeah. Their midfield didn't work hard enough for me, people, for them. Their midfield made it easier because... Can I, please? Yeah, right, cool. At first, you would think Arsenal are outnumbering them in midfield, right, people? My shirt don't look thingy. You'd think they're outnumbering Arsenal in midfield, right? Because Ramsey's playing slightly forward. It's a pivot of Xhaka and Torreira. Ramsey did very well to drop in my opinion. But away from the Arsenal midfielders, you've got to work. In a system like this, you have to work. You have to work hard. I don't feel that their midfielders worked hard enough. First and foremost, it's suicide, yeah, because I felt sorry for them. You've got young Valerie, sorry, people. Young Valerie, he's gaining a lot of plaudits, but he's still vastly inexperienced. The midfield have got to work better. You know, before I even mention that, and let me move these guys a bit, just to exaggerate this a bit. You know, Arsenal this season were a decent attacking side, but we're the left-hand side FC, so we're going to try and exploit your right. We've got Kohler there. Bellerin's not in the team, at least to the end of the season, for obvious reasons. So Kohler seems to be our attacking threat. Him and Iwobi, or goals just seem to happen for us down the left-hand side. So it was almost suicidal in many aspects. When you're seeing how narrow these players are becoming, and like I said earlier, Iwobi, freedom of the city, almost dropped one. Kohler the same, freedom of the city. And these midfielders didn't help because let me do it a bit better. Do you lot some justice. Back to the midfield, people. Their midfield just didn't work hard enough, in my opinion. It just, again, like I'd be quite upset if I was their manager, man, watching the game again, because they really made it easier for Arsenal, in my opinion. They didn't work hard enough. First and foremost, in a wing-back position, when they're going backwards, you need to cover and help them. I don't feel they did that enough. And I felt they were just chasing shadows. People, remember this guy's the red one, yeah? I'm going to put him right next to Kissing, our centre-half. He's on Southampton's side. But then you look at Xhaka, Torreira, Aaron Ramsey. You know, for all of Arsenal's things, you know, pass and move when the sun is shining, Arsenal are at it. We're not being picked up. These players are just finding space. And then they're chasing shadows, essentially. They're chasing shadows. You see it, people? Essentially just chasing shadows. I don't feel their midfield was incredibly lazy, was incredibly lethargic. I'd say, yeah, man. I'd say, again, if I was him, I'd say everything I've said, I'm actually looking at it to a degree from a Southampton point of view, because I was watching the game. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing to a degree from Southampton. Like, a Premier League side in the way they played. Like, if the manager gave them today off, then it is what it is. But for me, they'd be back in training, because they really, like, they weren't no performance like Derby a couple of years ago and things like that. They did have a couple of incidences where they troubled us, but yeah, man, they kind of shot themselves in the foot, and it just looked like the team, having watched it again, it just looked like the team I don't know why, but the team was just resound to defeat. Maybe it was pressure because everybody, no, I wouldn't say everybody, but there was a lot of talk of them doing the double over Arsenal, revenge, all of these things. They've got their own pressures. They're obviously not in the best of positions in the league. Maybe it's just one of them things, but I don't feel the midfield worked hard enough, and obviously silly mistakes cost them, with obviously Stevens getting caught for the ball, getting caught on the ball for the second goal. Obviously it then fell to Gunn. Gunn is a poor clearance, and Iwobi and Mkhitaryan make us exploit that. But really and truly, they shot themselves in the foot and engineered both of them goals. It's lovely counter-attacking play, especially for the first one, but really, it's just looking at how Southampton started that game, how they performed during it, the midfield and the back 3-5-4, whatever they were doing, and silly individual mistakes is why Southampton didn't put in a better performance and why Arsenal were able to exploit them. Our boys can't deal with that. So like I said, I feel Xhaka was good. I feel Torreira was good. I said Lacazette helped press for the first, as did Torreira as well. To be honest, he's actually pressing initially. I felt Kohler was good. He's actually a better performance defensively. Again, you need to remember this was a poor performance from Southampton, but better performance defensively. I felt Lichtsteiner was alright when he was on, apart from over covering. I felt Mkhitaryan and Iwobi in particular was superb. Lacazette probably fizzled out towards the end, but he was quality. Really love to see the cameo. I love to see the cameo from Ozil as well, to be honest with you, because during the game first time round, I was thinking, is Ozil going to get on? Because it's nice to see him just make space and pass the ball and bring people in. Side note is, when is Denis Suarez probably going to start his first game at the Emirates in some capacity? You'd think he's in contention to start against Bournemouth, but who knows at this point in time. I didn't say I'd start him in my preview. In fact, I don't even know at this point if I brought out my preview for Bournemouth, but it is what it is. Anyways, people, in regards to the tactical review, that's all I have to say in regards to Arsenal versus Southampton. So on that note, people, deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest.